The group Americans for Tax Reform reminds us that, along with Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris, North Carolina's Democratic Senate candidate Cal Cunningham supports a measure called the PRO Act. It would end right-to-work protections in this state and across the country. That news is of particular interest to Terry Stoops. Dr. Terry Stoops is Vice President for Research and Director of Education Studies at the Locke Foundation. And Terry, this is of interest to you because you recently took a very deep dive into collective bargaining in North Carolina. Right-to-work status, collective bargaining, they are linked in some ways, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're both measures that empower unions, and they empower them in different ways. And the right-to-work law specifies that an employee can't be compelled to join a union, can't be compelled to pay union dues, and if they are denied employment because they refuse to join a union or refuse to pay union dues, they can sue the employers. So this is a strong protection to ensure that workplaces remain free, and collective bargaining is the means by which unions bargain with employers to ensure that they have the terms of employment that they wish to have.
Your study focused specifically on what would happen in North Carolina if we ended our ban on collective bargaining. Remind us what you found.
Sure. Depending on what kind of bargaining the state would decide, if we repealed the statute that prohibits collective bargaining in North Carolina, the cost would be anywhere between $889 million and $1.3 billion. And that would just be because of wages. That doesn't include the increased cost of employee benefits, of changing working conditions or increased employment. So we know that eliminating the ban on collective bargaining in North Carolina would be very expensive, would necessitate tax increases just to accommodate the increased wages.
And this is just in the public sector. You didn't look at the impacts of the private sector. If the PRO Act went into effect and right-to-work status went away, that could have economic ripple effects in the private sector too.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, because we know that unionization increases the costs of work and employment, and this is really the concern that I think a lot of folks have in seeing Cal Cunningham commit to this sort of legislation, this sort of policy, is that increases the cost of doing business. And when you increase the cost of business, you increase the cost of goods and services, and that's in the past is what has made North Carolina such an attractive place to do work and to do business, is the fact that we have a low cost of living, we have a low cost for goods and services, and we have a low cost for employment that makes for a very good economic atmosphere here in North Carolina. And this, Cal Cunningham is committing to, would increase the cost of all of that.